Hey everybody, welcome back to the class. In the class right now, we will have a look at the IELTS writing section for part 2. Your IELTS writing section part 2 is the same for academic or for general students, whether for computer-based or paper-based examination. Let's have a quick look into the IELTS examination for writing section. For your writing section, you have computer-delivered IELTS or paper-delivered IELTS for writing section. For both of these sections, writing section is for 60 minutes of time, out of which the first 20 minutes are for task 1 and the remaining 40 minutes are for task 2. Again, you have a marking score from 0 to 9 in writing section, and writing section for part 2 will have a different marking criteria to the writing part 1 and to the other sections. Your computer delivered writing could look something like this, where you have to type in your response for the given question onto the screen. To do this, you have 40 minutes of time, and a minimum of 250 words have to be written in the exam to not receive a penalty for writing section. Your paper delivered IELTS will have the question paper for you and the answer paper for you, on which you have to use your pen or your pencil to write down your response. A recommendation for you would be to use a ballpoint pen so that the written is clearly understood. Time management. Now for writing section for part 2, you are given 40 minutes of time. You have to finish your response within that amount of time and make sure you've read the question's response, you've proofread your answer, you've checked your spellings, and you've completed the response. So for that, the first 5 minutes out of your 40 minutes of time should be used for brainstorming. This is the time you should utilize to understand the question, to decide your opinion, to decide what examples you will use, and to decide the connectors you're going to use. The next 30 to 32 minutes of time should be utilized in writing your response if you're appearing for paper-based exams, or typing your response if you're appearing for computer-based exams. Finally, leave the last 2-3 minutes of time for proofreading for any task 2 question. Instruction for you would be to make sure you've written down 250 words at a minimum. You can exceed 250 words if you wanted to. The maximum limit for your writing section would be about 310 or 320 words. Anything beyond that would not necessarily be written in the exam, provided the time you are given. The ideal word limit for you is around 270 to 290 words. If you write less than 250 words, you will receive a penalty. How is it marked for you? In your writing section for task 2, you have 4 major criteria. You have task achievement, which contributes to 25% of your marks, lexical resource, which contributes to the 25% of your marks, coherence and cohesion, again 25% of marks, and grammatical range and accuracy. We'll have a look at the table in detail after this to understand what are requirements for this. Task achievement means being able to represent your response with a clear, well-supported, logical argument. Being able to support the made argument with providing examples and reasons and not straying from the topic, which means having a focus on the topic and not include irrelevant details into your answer, will give you good marks in task achievement. Lexical resource means the vocabulary range that you have in your response. So trying to use a wide range of vocabulary, so a wide range of synonyms for your question. Being able to use the words accurately and spelling them correctly, providing a proper word formation is what the examiner will have a look at when they check your lexical resource. For coherence and cohesion, you have to make sure you're able to write fluently to make your message clear to the understanding of the reader, and using cohesive devices in your writing to provide necessary support to the statements. Your grammatical range and accuracy will check how you structured your sentences. What tenses have you used in your sentences? Are they using singular verbs or plural words? Are you using complex sentences or single sentences only? Are you using simple sentences and only simple sentences? Or are you trying to make use of complex connectors and trying to connect sentences? All of this is checked under your grammatical range and accuracy. Diving more into detail of these criteria, let's go into the band descriptor table. To get an 8 or 7 band scores, you have to make sure you sufficiently address all parts, or you address all parts of the task clearly. What this means is, on a given question, you have to address the entire question and not leave anything behind. Presenting a well-developed response to the question with relevant, extended and supporting ideas. For 7 band scores, the same thing is called as presenting, extending and supporting main ideas. What this means is we'll have a look at into when we discuss the body paragraphs. And another criteria for getting 7 or 8 band scores would be to present a clear position throughout your response. In any given essay question for part 2, you have to make sure you provide your opinion as the response in the task achievement. If your opinion or if your stance or your position is not clear in the response, you will not receive 7 band scores in task achievement. The second criteria for you, coherence and cohesion, includes you to write down your responses in a sequential and logical format, which means providing response to one part of the question, then moving to another, then another, and then another. If you jumble your ideas, or if you mix and match your ideas, or if they're not presented in a proper order, in that case, you will not receive 7 band scores in coherence. Using a range of cohesive devices, which means using proper connectors whenever necessary, is what gives you marks in your coherence and cohesion part of the marking criteria. And the last thing for your getting 7 band scores would be to present a clear ideas within each paragraph you write, which means a central topic or a central idea must be present in every body paragraph. If a body paragraph has more than one central idea, that violates this condition and you may lose some points for coherence and cohesion. The third criteria for you is lexical resource. Lexical resource uses sufficient vocabulary to address your topic. Trying to use less common idiomatic vocabulary and producing accurate spellings of the words will provide you good marks in lexical resource. If you have errors in word formation, word selection, not having proper style of collocation, or having errors in your spellings, or using inadequate range of vocabulary, in that case you will lose your points for lexical resource. Finally, you have your points for grammatical range and accuracy. For grammatical range and accuracy, the sentences have to be written in a grammatically correct format, producing very frequent error-free sentences. If you have errors in singulars and plurals, if you have errors in tenses, present tense, past tense, if you're not making use of complex sentences, if you're only using simple sentences in your answer, in that case you will lose marks in grammatical range and accuracy. So the examiner will give you band scores for each of the criteria, and an average of the band scores will decide your marks for writing task 2. The band scores go from 9 to a 0, depending on how well you've done in your response. Coming to the essay structure now, there are 4 or 5 major paragraphs in the essay, out of which the first paragraph is the introduction paragraph. For introduction paragraph, you have to prepare 2 to 3 sentences. The first sentence is known as the introduction sentence, or paraphrasing the question sentence, or the hook sentence. For this sentence, you have to paraphrase the given question and summarize it in the beginning of the essay. The second sentence for you is the stance sentence, or your opinion sentence. It is a very important sentence for you, and it is a necessary sentence if you want to receive 7 band scores in your answer. In the sentence, you have to provide your opinion or your stance on the given question and support it with an example if you need to. The third sentence in the first paragraph, introduction paragraph, is called as a thesis sentence or a background sentence. A background sentence provides a background on the given thesis or on the given question, deciding the structure for the essay. So for example, in the following essay, I will provide my stance and support it with the examples is a thesis sentence, because this sentence makes it clear to the reader that the essay will discuss the stance and provide examples for it. For introduction paragraph or introduction sentence, you can use distinct vocabulary words. If you're providing other people's opinion, you can provide vocabulary such as it seems that, it seems apparent that, it is often claimed that, some people believe that, many researchers have found that if you want to provide your own opinion, you can use different words. So you can use "in my view," "I would agree," "it seems to me that," "I would argue that," "it has long been my belief that," "I am certain that." And if you disagree with the given question, you can provide a response in stating, "There is no justification for," "I completely am against it," "I believe there is no evidence to support it," or "I do not agree with the idea." For any given question, whether you agree or disagree, you have to provide your opinion to the first paragraph, which is the introduction paragraph. The next paragraph for your writing section is body paragraph number 1. Now, body paragraph number 1 will have 3 to 4 sentences in it. The first sentence, or the main argument, is where you provide your response to the given question. This can be beginning with many different ways. You can start with a beginning connector. A beginning connector could be word like "firstly," "first of all," "to begin with," or "to start with." In the main point or the main argument, you have to provide a response on the given question as it is. The next statement for you is the supporting argument. The supporting argument is where you extend your idea from the previous paragraph. In this one, you have to elaborate your main idea that you've given before. Don't try to repeat the same idea, but try rephrasing or reframing the vocabulary to understand the main point. Use an addition connector to connect that point to the main paragraph. Once you're done with that, provide the next statement, which is the example statement, also known as the supporting example statement. In this case, try providing argumentative examples, which means avoid using generalizations such as survey results, newspaper articles, research, and so on. Finally, if you want to provide a secondary argument, you're welcome to provide that as well. For a secondary argument, you have to provide a secondary point, which in no way is connected to the first point. Your second body paragraph will be pretty much a similar paragraph, but on the opposite side. So you provide the main paragraph, or you provide the main argument for the opposite side of the argument. You support the opposite side of the argument, and you provide an example for the opposite side of the argument. In the end, you can also provide a secondary argument for the given question. Once you provide body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2, you can then provide body paragraph 3, which is an optional paragraph for you. This paragraph can have 1 to 2 sentences, and this can extend the points you've mentioned in body paragraph 2. It can be an opinion paragraph, it can be an additional point paragraph. Part 3 or body paragraph 3 does not need any examples. If you have a secondary argument or if you have a supporting statement, provide that in the third body paragraph. Once you're on the third body paragraph, the final paragraph for you is conclusion paragraph. For conclusion paragraph, you have to provide 1 to 2 sentences in your response. In your conclusion paragraph, you will need to paraphrase your response from the given question. So make sure you paraphrase both the body paragraphs that you've taken down for the question. Use the main points from the body paragraphs to provide a paraphrasing. Do not repeat the same content again. In the end, provide your stance, which you mention in the first paragraph or the first paragraph in your essay, which is the introduction paragraph. Make sure you don't use the same vocabulary as the introduction paragraph, but try and summarize using the topic words used in the introduction paragraph. Different connectors you can use as you go along in writing section to introduce the topic. You can use connectors such as at first, firstly, in the beginning, to begin with, to start with. To provide examples, you can use connectors like for example, for instance, in particular. Add points to the given question. You can use words like furthermore, moreover, not only, but also, what is more apart from that. If you want to provide an opinion in the given question, you can use vocabulary such as "it seems likely," "it seems nice to me," "as far as I know," "in my opinion," "I believe," "I feel." To provide conclusion, you can use words such as "to conclude," "in conclusion," "finally," "summarizing," "evidently," "on the whole." And to provide an example, you can use words such as "in other words," such as, "for instance," "for one thing," "as an example," "for example" as well. There are different types of writing tasks to essay questions. One of the most common question type is agree and disagree question. In this question, you can see the vocabulary clearly indicates whether you have to agree with the given question or disagree with the given question. If you agree, you can provide your example with agree paragraphs, which means introduction paragraph, agree paragraph, and conclusion paragraph. If you disagree with the given question, you can provide disagree paragraphs. Advantage, disadvantage, benefits and drawbacks, pros and cons, positives and negatives. For this question, you have to weigh the benefits and drawbacks of the given topic and decide your response for the given question, whether it's going to be advantage or disadvantage, or benefit or drawback, or pro or con. For the given question, pick a side and argue from that side. If you want to stay neutral, you can provide a neutral conclusion as well for the given question. If you want to provide a response on the negative side, you can provide a response on the drawback side of the given question. Third question type for you is problems and solutions. For problems and solutions, you have to make sure you read the question first, understand what the problem is, and try to explain the problem to the reader. In the example problem and solution, you have to provide your own response to the given question. So you need to have solutions prepared in the brainstorming time to provide them for the given problem. For problems and solutions, you have usually one problem and multiple available solutions. Discussion question or two-part essay question. For discussion question, you have to read the question carefully, understand what they've asked you. They will ask you two major questions which you have to discuss in the paragraph and provide responses to. For introduction section, discussion section has to have both of the answers present, or two-part question has to have both the answers present in the introduction of the given question. Body paragraph 1 will answer question 1 and body paragraph 2 will answer question 2. In the end, concluding with the conclusion, providing a summary of body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. Opinion-based questions or viewpoint questions. For opinion-based questions, you have to provide your opinion on the given question to the examiner. So read the question carefully beforehand, understand what your opinion is going to be, whether it's going to be on the first side or the second side or the former side or latter side. You need to decide that. When the recording is going on, you need to listen and understand the question carefully. Accordingly, mark the answer for the question by providing your opinion in body paragraphs. Cause and effect, the last question type for you. For cause and effect, you have to read the question, understand what's been provided as a problem, discuss the cause of the given problem, provide a necessary effect that you can see that generates from the problem. For this question, you can provide the cause in body paragraph 1 and effects in body paragraph 2 and 3. So there are 6 major types of essay questions for you guys. Let's have a quick look as to what strategies we can use to provide responses for the question. Study the question carefully when it's given to you. The instructions will tell you what you need to provide, whether you need to provide an opinion, you need to agree with the question, provide a solution to the question, discuss the problem of the question, discuss the advantages or pros and cons, and accordingly provide a response. Make sure you read all parts of the question, and if they've asked you for examples, include everything relevant required. When the question is read, quickly brainstorm the topic. Talk about your point of view because it's going to be important, like we discussed. Write a plan on your rough paper. Decide what points you will use for the given essay, and accordingly decide what main points you're going to use and what subtopics or points you're going to use. Whatever points you use in the essay, provide necessary details of the given question. Make sure you're organizing your points logically and you're moving in the forward direction. Each body paragraph should have one main point, making sure one example serves one providing question. Finally, make sure in your response you provide introduction statement, your body and your conclusion. All of them are present when you submit your response. Some things to remember: your scope of the given question will tell you what providing points you're going to use in there. Your thesis statement will tell the reader on what your opinion is going to be. So make sure you have an attractive thesis statement. Remember to use connectives, as we discussed, between words, sentences, and paragraphs. If you use proper structure and vocabulary, you might receive a higher score. Make sure you don't take more than 40 minutes per question for writing section task 2. Very rare cases is when you can have 2 essay questions for task 2. That's not what happened. Leave at least 5 minutes of time to check through on what you have written. If you write less than necessary keywords, which is less than 250 words, you will lose the points for the given question. So make sure you provide more than 250 words for the given response. Like discussed before, the ideal word limit for you is 270 to 290 words. So thank you very much.